he may not want me telling you guys this, but he's like, he goes, man, he said, I got to go back to the trailer and stretch out my bicep. It's cramping up on me. Because he was gripping it tight, for the camera to look, cut up and flex.
You know this ain't no 10-second race.
I got nothing but time.
This ain't no 10-second race, but we've got nothing but time to talk to Lucas Black, a.k.a. Sean Boswell. Lucas, welcome to our Binge of Fast and Furious.
Oh, man, it's good to be here. Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're super excited to talk Tokyo Drift. I mean, already a great film, but I think the legend has even grown over the years. But before we dive into it, what we've been having everyone do at the top of these, because, Dominic Toretto once said, nothing else matters for those 10 seconds or less. He's free. So how would you in 10 seconds summarize Tokyo Drift?
Oh, man, exhilarating and burning lots of rubber.
I love that. I love that. It's perfect.
That's right. Come on.
Well, when you think back on the movie now, someone mentions Tokyo Drift to you, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it a scene? Is it, I don't know, a day on set? What do you think of first?
Well, a line that gets said to me a lot is, what does DK stand for? And, Sean Boswell replies, Donkey Kong?
Donkey Kong. Drift King.
Still need a dictionary?
So that's one of the first things I think of, and that's pretty cool to hear. When I go out in town or on social media, a lot of text and people replying that line.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I love that so much. You should have gotten an unofficial sponsorship with Donkey Kong or something.
Yeah.
Maybe there's still an opportunity there.
Exactly.
We're gonna dive into all the way into Tokyo Drift, but what was your relationship with the Fast films or those first two original ones before Tokyo Drift? Were you a fan already, or did you not really? Obviously, they came out not too long before Tokyo Drift did. So
Yes.
Did you have any relationship with them before?
Yeah, absolutely. I watched them both and enjoyed them. I was 24 when I did Tokyo Drift, and so they came out in my early 20s, and they were films that were fun to watch. And then I know Tyrese has a line that my buddies and I would say a lot. He was looking at that mansion and he says, "You got any food up in there? 'Cause we hungry, bruh." So
I love that line. The way he says "hungry" is perfection.
Right. We hungry.
We hungry.
And so so that was a line, that we used a lot of my friends when being out all day working out, and we would say that in the evenings. But hey, you got any food? 'Cause we hungry, bro.
That's perfect.
Yep.
So how did Tokyo Drift, how were you first told about it? How did that come into your life? You must have been excited too, being a fan of the other two movies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my representation brought it to me, and then read the script and was excited about it, and was really intrigued that it was something different than the other two. A different type of style of racing. And then after talking to Justin Lin and just his vision for the film, it was exciting. It's kind of it really. I didn't think about it as an actor, being in a car movie, in a race car movie, but after getting the role and learning how to drift, going through the classes, they taught us how to drift 2 weeks before we started shooting. We would go to Irwindale Speedway. We had the best teachers in the world, all the drift champions. Reese Millen was my stunt double, but he was the drift champion back in the early 2000s. So he taught me how to drift. So it was like a dream come true, pretty much, for a 25-year-old male to be able to go out and learn how to drift, just burn the tires down to the tread and burn the highest octane fuel. I mean, it was like jet fuel we were putting in these cars. And then at the end of the week, I got a paycheck to do it. So man, it was awesome. It was awesome.
I mean, can you still drift? Do you still have it? Like, it's been,
Man.
15 years.
We did a scene actually in the television show I was recently involved in. They had a drift scene. They wrote one in for my character where I'm chasing this suspect down and I'm drifting through an old parking garage, just like where I first learned how to drift in Tokyo Drift. I was like, yes, because my normal life, my home life, I had to, basically I own a truck, right? That's what's in the driveway, because the temptation is too strong not to try to drift out on the street, do something illegal, get caught by the cops. So I try to stay away from it in my private life. But I was so excited when they wrote that scene for me, and it took me a while to get the feel back, but once you get the feel back, kind of get used to the car, the weight of the car, and how it wants to spin and operate. I still got a little bit in me. I'm ready to drift.
Get in. Getting too close to the edge.
Know what I'm doing.
Stay down.
Still got it.
The scene at the end of it, you get to say like, "Oh, still got it," like, which is
That's
perfect.
Right. That's right. That wasn't written in the script. I added that. I was like, hey, still got it. Still got it.
Oh, I love that. What a great nod. What do you remember? I talked to Chris Morgan a couple of years ago, the writer. This was his first, Fast film, and obviously he went to write on, all of them up until 9. He talked about there's a lot of different forms that this project took. Like, he said his original pitch was actually Vin coming back and Dom going to Tokyo to avenge a friend's death, which is kind of ends up, down the road happening. And then there was talk of maybe this was straight to DVD at one point, but then obviously it becomes a big release in theaters and does really well. I mean, what do you remember of maybe what the expectations for the film was and like how big, you guys thought it was going to be?
Well, I wasn't in any of those conversations, but, I had high expectations. As an actor, I guess I was pretty confident, still am. But so while we were filming, it felt like a big budget project and a blockbuster hit to me. But I pretty much just stay focused on, what I'm supposed to do and what the director wants out of me. And then whatever happens, whatever results happens after that, that's not up to me, So I go in with high enthusiasm and try to do the best I can do and see what happens from there, And so it was a blessing to see and good to see that it was one of those films that stood out, from the franchise. That's what's so unique about Tokyo Drift. And I know the movie and the stories, the saga has kind of, changed throughout the years, and that's been a good thing. But Tokyo Drift stands out different. The fans remember that one particular movie different than all the others, And so I was proud of that. So it was fun, man. We had fun with it. It was such a relaxed feel on Tokyo Drift, and I think that was from the leadership of Justin Lin. He has a very calming demeanor and way about him and how he directs and makes, I want to say everyone, but it made all of us on Tokyo Drift feel comfortable. And that was fun to be able to, reunite on this last project, Fast 9. because it was kind of like a reunion for all of us that was involved in Tokyo Drift. And so we got to reminisce about the good old days of Tokyo Drift and talk about where we are now as in our adult lives. So it was a good time.
What was it like filming in Tokyo? Like, it was obviously a culture shock for Sean. Was it a bit of the same for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I grew up in a small rural Alabama, pretty much small town, and so never been to Japan, but it was awesome. Like the first 2 weeks, I love food, and so I was eating all the authentic, Japanese food, and I don't mind sushi. So I'm like, all these sushi places we're going to, they have conveyor belts, right, with different color plates, and you just stack the plates up as you're eating, and they charge you by the color of the plates. And so I ate tons and tons and tons of sushi till I got tired of it. But after about 2 weeks, I was craving the American food. Like, where can I find some Western culture food? So it was a shell shock, culture shock. Definitely, you stand out when you go to Japan.
I saw some old behind the scenes footage of you and Bow Wow Shad Moss, kind of around the different areas that you guys filmed in. What was it like, kind of just hanging out and getting to know each other as well, while you're both kind of experiencing a place that's probably pretty newer to both of you, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. You soaking it all in. Like when I went to Japan and Tokyo, you just kind of taking it all in. And the reason we were there was to shoot all of the exterior scenes, right? All the outside shots that they wanted to capture, Tokyo, the real city that you really can't duplicate over here in the States. So it was kind of like we got to do a lot of our sightseeing while we were filming, but we did some on our own too. We went to Mount Fuji, but Bow Wow, I remember that he was, I think, 19 at the time. So we played a lot of Madden football, right? during our downtime. In our trailer, we had the PlayStation rolling with Madden. We had some battles in the trailer.
At least let me drive.
What was it like filming, some of these driving and chase sequences, through Tokyo? I'm still, especially Shibuya Crossing is kind of like a big famous, part of just Tokyo, but also the movie and the chase. So what was it like doing some of those long driving sequences through the crowded streets of Tokyo?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to do those personally, but it was crazy just to see how many people that cross that intersection daily. We filmed a scene that was up on the roof, that soccer scene where Han and Sean's looking out, and it's kind of a life lesson moment.
Why did you let me race with your car? You knew I was gonna wreck it.
Why not? I want car in exchange for knowing what a man's made of. That's a price I can live with. Look at all those people down there. They follow the rules for what? They're letting fear lead them.
What happens if they don't?
Life's simple. You make choices and you don't look back.
That intersection is, it's unbelievable. You're looking down and you just see thousands of people crossing it at the same time, but I will say this. So they taught me how to drift. So I wanted to do it, right? While we were filming, I'm like, Justin, you got to let me drift, man. I know how to drift. I would go up to him and be like, Justin, let me drift. He's like, no, you can't, you can't do it. You can't do it on this scene. And I'm like, all right. And so one day we're filming in downtown LA, I remember. And it was Han's garage was in downtown LA. And so I take Justin, I'm like, Justin, come with me. He's like, where are we going? So I get him in the car, and there was a spot where they parked 18-wheeler trailers, tractor trailers, you know. And I said, let's go, we're going drifting. So I took him to that spot and drifted to show him, because he was in the car, he's in the passenger seat, to show him I knew how to drift, right? And he's like, all right, Lucas, whenever there's a time, I'll let you know. I'll let you know when you can drift. And so the scene where we're putting the Skyline engine in the Mustang, in the Shelby Mustang, we're practicing, right? We're tuning it. We're practicing for the big race at the end. We're going down, we're going down that mountain practicing. Justin comes up to me. They had a crane, a car, one of the cars, but they had a camera on the crane, but it was a fast car, so it's not like your normal regular setup on a movie. This was like a BMW with a crane and a camera on it, and I was following that camera. He comes up to me and says, "Hey, now's your time." And that's all he said. That's all he said. And I'm like, yes, you got it. So I got to do some drifting in that scene, and that was awesome. I was super excited about it because most of it was done with the second unit, with the stunt coordinators and the stunt directors. But I got to do some, so I was super pumped that Justin gave me the okay, and I got to drift a little,
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about Shibuya Crossing, and this will tell you a lot about my fast fandom. I went to Tokyo about 2 years ago, and literally my first stop on my tour around, I went to Shibuya Crossing because I knew it from Tokyo Drift. And I stood in the middle when they did the cross. I took a picture. I was like, Sean drove right through here.
That's right. Come on.
It felt like history.
Yes. Yes. That's awesome.
I definitely did something similar. My brother lived in Tokyo for a while working there, and that was like the only place I knew I had to go. It was like, we got to go to Shibuya, and then you could show me whatever you want.
Yes.
What do you have a favorite scene? Thinking back on Tokyo Drift, obviously I'm sure there's so many great ones, but like, is there one that sticks out to you as like a personal favorite?
Yeah, absolutely. It's at the very beginning of the movie when I have the car race with the 68 Monte Carlo, which that car was a beast, by the way. It had a 500 big block engine with slicks on the back and a slapstick gear shift. Literally, I could spin the tires in third gear going 60 miles an hour. But
Wow.
so that scene after the wreck, right? And we're all at the police station. Justin comes up to us and he goes, "Is anyone willing to put a piece of tissue in your nose?" And I said, "That's me. That's me, Justin." Because he wanted somebody to have a bloody nose, with a tissue in it. So I got the tissue in. I was smiling at the lady, right? Smiling at the girl at the police station. And I've got blood in my teeth with the tissue in it, and that's Sean Boswell right there, and that's my favorite scene of Tokyo Drift. Favorite moment right there.
I love that was where you went, because literally in my notes I wrote down, ask about the bloody smile, because I love it every time it comes up. And the camera goes on you, and you got the nosebleed going, and then you just do the smile at her. It gets me every time. I love hearing that was kind of an on-the-moment spot. That's too perfect.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's such a great like character note too. That just like you said, it just encompasses who Sean is. About that first race though, at the construction site, like we know that of course like there's a lot of like you said, the second unit has to go in, but that one seems to be shot pretty practically throughout for the most part. Like, did you get to be a little more involved in that one, even if you're obviously not drifting yet because you hadn't learned as a character?
Yeah, absolutely. So when they're filming in between the studs, you know, the rough framing of the new houses being built. You know, we had like 2 parallel roads while I was on one side, right? And so going through it, you don't have to go extremely fast to look like you're going fast, right? But it was a narrow window. And so even if I'm going like 45 miles an hour, you know, from 0 to 45 is still pretty fast in that big 500 big block engine. So yeah, I got to do some of that while we were filming, but most of my driving was done when we weren't filming. when I wasn't supposed to. All right, but that because I remember I would take the filter off the carburetor of that car, that 68 Monte Carlo, and just open it up, and it would just vibrate. I mean, the whole, so that subdivision was all under construction, all new houses being built, and it just rattled. All of that wood, all of those studs, you could just hear. That's how loud. It was like, it was a race car, literally like a NASCAR, over 500 horsepower. I mean, this thing was a beast, loud, and it would just blow the doors off of things. And so I did that off camera.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in the theater for Tokyo Drift, which I will say, I remember it came out when I was in high school. And as kids do, you know, me and a bunch of friends go to the mall and then go to the movies. And we split up. Half of us went to see Tokyo Drift. Half of us weirdly went to see the movie Cars, the animated. I like to say I'm on the right side of history. I went to see Tokyo Drift. And I remember sitting in the theater, and at the end, when Dom shows up, you know, at the garage to race Sean, I was like, holy shit. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Everyone was excited. So what's your reaction? You're a fan of those, you know, original movies. You know, I know that wasn't originally how you guys were going to end it, but it was like a cool thing that you guys were able to add on before release. So when you hear, oh, we're bringing Vin back, like you're filming a scene with him to go at the end, like what was your reaction?
Oh man, I was excited, you know, and I remember when we were shooting that scene, you know, we had fun with it and talked about it, and then, you know, he's got his you know, left arm on the steering wheel, right? He pulls up to my left, and we shoot the scene. We do it a couple takes, you know.
You know this ain't no 10-second race.
I got nothing but time. You ready, kid?
And he comes up to me and he's like, he may not want me telling you guys this, but he's like, he goes, man, he said, I got to go back to the trailer and stretch out my bicep. It's cramping up on me. Because he was gripping it, you know, he was gripping it tight, you know, for the camera to look, you know, cut up and flexed. And so I was laughing, man. I was dying laughing. I was like, thank goodness he can at least, you know, make fun of himself a little bit, you know. So that was cool. That was cool to see. But yeah, it was exciting. You know, it brought excitement to think about the next project, right? The next movie, or what was going to happen after that race. You know, we weren't involved in 4, or I wasn't involved in 4, 5, and 6. They ended up using those as prequels to Tokyo Drift.
Right.
But yeah, man, it was awesome. It was awesome to have him there and see him, and you know, that was an exciting moment, I think, for the fans as well.
So what was it like then when you do get the call, like, oh, in 7, we need to have this like connective tissue like happening for this story, and then you come back for that. Did you already know also that they might want to, you know, bring Sean back again, like you're back in 9, like, which is incredible.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, you know, there was always talk of bringing my character back. You know, when they called me for 7, you know, you just kind of want to know what that entails, right?
Hey, yo, Sean. Hey, check this out, man. This dude over here want to race the new DK.
Not tonight, Twinkie.
Said he knew Han.
it was a small role. You know, it was more of like connecting the dots with Han, which I think was good and, you know, willing to do. But, you know, for me, I just want to know the plan for Sean Boswell.
Yeah.
And not really just to be, you know, stuck in there. You know what I mean? I think the producers and writers and studio realized that the fans, and I feel like the fans really wanted to see the Fast family and everyone that was involved, the hero characters, you know, united or in the same picture, in the same movie.
We heard y'all needed a little love out here.
So I know everyone's been super excited about Fast 9, and we get to reunite with everyone, you know, in the other movies, the Fast family, and contribute in a big way to the success at the end. I don't want to give it away, but that's, you know, and so that's cool, you know, and I think that's what everybody wanted, the fans wanted to see. And so, you know, they made it happen for Fast 9, and we'll see what happens from there.
You're almost like an Easter egg in the Fast 9 trailer. Like, I remember watching it when it debuted, and I was like losing my mind over so many things. You know, I was like, oh my God, wait, John. It's like, oh my God, John Cena is playing Dom's brother. Wait, what? And then Han comes back at the end, and you're like, holy crap, what is going on here? And then like I think someone mentioned to me, they're like, did you see like Lucas Black? Like, Sean's back. Did you see? I was like, wait, what? So like I went back and I was like, oh my God, like there he is. So it was like actually a super fun like surprise after the fact that like I said, a little Easter egg. So I know everyone's excited to see more of that. Now, Tokyo Drift, I almost would say, is like the most important film in the whole franchise, just because of, you know, what it started and kind of what it meant for, you know, the characters. So like, what's it been like for you? I'm sure you get a lot of, you know, people, you know, talking to you about Tokyo Drift. Like, it's, you know, it's kind of hit with a certain group where I think a lot of people, it's actually their favorite.
Well, yeah, appreciate that, man. That means a lot. You know, just being a part of the Fast and Furious franchise is incredible and a huge success for me. Like I said earlier, to have Tokyo Drift kind of be a standalone or different than all the other films, you know, makes it unique. And you know, I think the fans liked it, that it was a different style of racing, you know, and it was about racing. You know, it was about a skill set. It's not just an action, or it's not all about just an action film. You know, it's a racing movie. And so there was a lot of appreciation for that, you know, and so that's cool. You know, I appreciate that and thankful for that. You know, like you said, it kind of has its own following. You know, I think a lot of the fans they talk about that one a lot because it does stand out to them. You know, and it was filmed in Tokyo, and so people were kind of intrigued by that and that city and Japan, and so it had that element to it as well. You know, a fish out of water, a Southern boy that likes American muscle cars, you know, learning how to drift and going to Tokyo. You know, I think a lot of people here in America, you know, were just intrigued by that and like seeing that dynamic.
Yeah. I kind of in the same vein, like you talked about it being like unique. One way that it always stands out to me is it's really the only movie in the whole franchise that's a coming of age story, right? So now coming back into the character, is it like sort of catching up again, or like slipping back into it, or, you know, because Sean's older now, like when 9 happens, did you have to sort of rethink how you approach the character a little bit at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. It was definitely something that was on my mind because, yeah, like you said, Sean Boswell is a lot older now. So there was that level of maturity that Justin Lin and I talked about, some of the life lessons that Han taught him. I wanted to play those in my character so that the audience could see it, but also still have that young spirit, that excitement and vibrance of being able to create a race car, because Sean always was a mechanic and he liked to build his cars, and so in Fast 9 that's what I'm doing, and so I wanted to keep that childlike spirit when it pertained to the cars, building the cars and racing, but have a little bit more wisdom about life and friendship. And so, I hope that comes across in Fast 9, and we'll see. We'll see.
I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't. Kind of getting toward the end here, we always like to end with what we call the final lap, just kind of a round of speed questions, about the Fast universe. So let's say we could go back in Tokyo Drift and you could add one other Fast character into Tokyo Drift that's not in it currently. Like, who would you want? Like, is there an actor or a character you would have loved to have Sean come across in Tokyo Drift?
Oh, man. Tough one. I guess, Tej and Roman is so funny to me. So I guess Tyrese's character,
Yeah, you could say the hungry line at him.
He makes me laugh, man. He makes me laugh, and we've worked together before. So I guess his character, yep.
We like to think too about some of the, staying on the characters, like what some of the people who we saw, like what they're doing now. Like, have you thought about like what someone like Neela could be doing in the future? Like, if you could envision anything for her, where would she be?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the fans ask about her character too, but her character was kind of detail oriented. Or, well, she was she was the field driver, right? So you could see her just, enjoying going out drifting and kind of being on her own, just enjoying drifting down a mountain somewhere in a private setting. So that's kind of where I see Neela, But yeah, that's kind of cool to think about where all the characters are and where would they be.
A couple years ago, I took on the task of deciding who in Fast and Furious is the fastest and furiousest, if that's even a word. I think I might have made it up.
Come on.
But yeah. So I put Sean, so I did a top 10. I put Sean at 7 because I felt like he was right in the middle. Like, he was fast, but obviously he slowed down, with drifting. So that kind of docked his fast rating a little. Furious, he was pretty furious. I gave him a high score there. So what do you think? Do you think like Sean could use a reevaluation there? Do I need to move him up? Do you think he's faster and furiouser than I have him?
You're definitely going to reevaluate after you watch Fast 9.
Ooh.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right. I think he's going to move up on the fastest scale because
I
of
love that.
the type of car he builds.
That's what they call a tease in the business. I love that.
Come on.
I mean,
it's funny. It's funny because when I think about Sean Boswell in Tokyo Drift, there's really two different characters there that you see. The character in America and the character in Japan. There's a little bit of shift, right? He's into the American muscle, fast. He's furious, doesn't care about anything, what I'm saying. He gets attached, has an attraction and affection for Neela, that love interest there. And then he learns the feel of drifting, kind of more of a technique and feeling. And so it's like looking like you're out of control, but in control. And that takes a little bit of an emotional control, right? And so that is unique about Sean's character in Tokyo Drift, right? His American character, you would have to evaluate that a little different, right? Because he's up there on the Fast and the Furious scale. So that's what's cool about this character. And I thought about Tokyo Drift. You kind of saw a shift in his perspective when he went to Japan. But yeah, you might have to reevaluate after Fast 9. I'm curious as how Sean's going to change from a 7.
What, not specific to Fast and Furious, but in preparing for this, I had to think, I was like, is Lucas Black a sports movie Hall of Famer? I started thinking, because not only do we have Tokyo Drift, which I think, racing, drifting, I think we're calling that a sport. I mean, Mike Winchell, Friday Night Lights, and Pee Wee Reese, 42. So what do you think? I mean, do you qualify? I think you do. I think you might need to be put in that sports movie Hall of Fame.
Yep. And I played a golfer, a professional golfer in a golf movie, 7 Days in Utopia too, with Robert Duvall. So that's right. I got the football.
That seals the deal. That seals the deal.
Come on. Got the baseball, racing, golf movie. Yeah, what is that? That's 4. Yeah, that's 4. But I've been blessed, man. I've been blessed. I grew up in Alabama playing sports, and I grew up outside. Playing outside, wasn't indoors, and played baseball, basketball, football, and then I played golf my last 2 years of high school. Grew up hunting and fishing, and it amazed me, like, in my career, the skills that I learned as a child, I used every one of them. Like, somebody asked me, they're like, man, what do you think, I should do to improve my skills as an actor, or like, how can I, become a better actor? And I said, really, just go and learn new skills, because you never know when you're going to use them. I learned how to drive boats, being on the water. We live next to the Tennessee River and a lake, and we'd go hunting, fishing, and camping there. And man, I've driven boats in movies, and even in current, by the way, and had to pull it up on the bank in current. But
wow,
driven cars, and so I grew. So listen to this. So Tokyo Drift, I picked up drifting quick. Grant, I did have the best teacher in the world, so that's one of the reasons. But I grew up, my dad got me a go-kart, right? And we had about 1.5 acres, 2 acres of land. So I had a dirt track. We built a dirt track. Basically, it was grass, it was lawn, but I had went in an oval so many times it became dirt. So really, I learned how to drift before I was a teenager, right? When I was 10 years old, I learned how to drift a go-kart in the backwoods of Alabama. And so, hey, all these skills I learned as a child, I was able to use in making these films and movies. It just blows me away when I look back on it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yep.
I mean, Lucas, thank you so much for joining us and becoming a part of the Binge family and taking us through Tokyo Drift. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me, man. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to you guys about it. It's always fun to talk about Tokyo Drift, and it's the fans love it too, man. So that's awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Ready.